G'day guys, so in this video I want to talk about a more sensitive topic, and that's about how to get your debts down to basically zero through other means like negotiating your way to zero and other things like that. It is a more sensitive topic, but hopefully it's going to be helpful for you if you have a lot of stress right now trying to pay off debts that you're struggling to pay off. Hopefully the stuff in this video will help you basically come out clean and keep your credit rating in check as well. So let's talk about it in more detail. By the way, before we start, disclaimer, usual stuff. It's not legal advice, not investment or financial advice. Seek your own professional advice before doing anything based on this video. This is just opinion, education, and illustration purposes only. Let's get into it, okay? So when it comes to getting your debts down to zero, there's several ways to do it that don't just involve making your regular payments on your debt. Number one is obviously, as per the title, negotiating your debts. We'll talk about this in a little bit later. But before that, let's talk about the other ways. There's bankruptcy. It's the one we want to avoid, but it is an option. I'll talk from an Australian perspective because that's where most of my experience with debt negotiation happens. It's called a Part 9 or Part 10 agreement in Australia, but in other countries, there'll be variations of this type of procedure. Number three is to make extra payments to pay it off early. A lot of people don't realize, but if you have a mortgage, a 25-year mortgage costing you $2,500 a month, if you pay an extra $500 a month, you can easily wipe off something like 10 years off of your mortgage and $100,000 off of your overall payments. It adds up to a lot if you add those extra payments. We'll show that to you using a calculator so you know the exact amounts. And the fourth method is to consolidate your debts. So if you have really expensive credit cards and a cheap mortgage, you might refinance your mortgage to pay off the card, and instead of paying $20,000 at 18%, you'll pay $20,000 off your mortgage rate, which might be 5% if you're in Australia. So that's another way to really cheapen out your debt burden so that you can overcome your debt worries right now. The main topic for today's video will be this one. So we'll talk more about negotiating as opposed to the other ones, but just be aware that even if you're in a hard space right now, there's plenty of options to get out of it. And a personal philosophy of mine is, like, without talking about religion too far, but I do believe the higher power out there, whether it's God or whatever you call it, they'll never put you in a position that is beyond your ability to overcome. So it's just a personal belief. But anyways, let's continue about negotiating debts. There's several ways to negotiate your debts off. In a country like Australia, which is, I would say, one of the better countries to get debt, you have several options for hardship. That's what they call it. Usually what you look for, and this applies to almost every country, is you look for something called an ombudsman. In Australia, I believe, if they haven't changed in the last 10 years, it's FOS and COSL. But you'll have your own version in your specific country. But basically, there are middlemen or middle authorities that take the position in between the bank and the consumer that borrows money, and they will help mediate a solution. So that's an option there for you. And basically, things that you can negotiate are things like payment holidays. So this is where you postpone any payments and interest. You freeze interest as well for, say, it could be like 3 months to like 18 months. It just depends on what you negotiate. Reduced payments, interest-only payments included, or discounted interest. You could take a look at extended term of payment. So instead of paying it off over 5 years, which is too much for your current income, maybe you lost your job, you could make it a 10-year loan or whatever. So you extend your term of payment to make it longer. And the fourth one, which is my personal favorite, is to pay off the entire debt at a discount, discounted debt. So we've done situations in the past where $30,000 credit cards get paid off for $5,000. And by the way, credit rating stays in check, no blemishes at all. On the system, it's counted as a full settlement, but at a huge discount. Now, this only works for certain types of debts and certain scenarios, usually the ones that don't have any collateral. So credit cards, personal loans, those types of debts, and it takes understanding how the banks work for this, which is beyond the scope of this video. But in a nutshell, basically a bank has policies to, like, if you're 30 days late, then they'll send you letters and occasionally send you an SMS or call. But beyond, I believe it's 60 days late payment, it starts getting into what's called the bad bad debts of that particular bank. And what happens is, if a particular bank right now is a AAA bank, like we're talking a prime bank, and all of a sudden a lot of the debts become bad debts, that bank has a risk of being downgraded to, say, a AA bank. So the quality of that bank goes down, and it affects how much they can lend and how good it looks on the books. So they don't like having bad debts on their books. And so what do is usually they'll sell off bad debts to debt collectors and do it as a write-off. And so that's in a nutshell how it works. I'm not going to go into big detail of specifics, but because we understand this, that's why we know if they sell that debt to a debt collector, they will probably sell it for around about 10 or 15% of the book value. So if it's $1 million in debt, they'll sell it for 100,000 or 150, and the debt collector will then collect maybe 30% or 40% of that book value. So that's where they make their money. Because we understand that, then that opens the door for us to go to the bank and go, well, instead of you selling it to the debt collector, how about I pay it off for a discount? And we've done that several times with success. And yeah, it's definitely an option for you to use, okay? So between these options, generally it's the hardship approach is the first port of call. And then you start looking for other ways out. Can you refinance? Can you consolidate? Can you do all sorts of things to reduce your stress? And if you can't, then let's try to negotiate our way out of it. There are other ways of doing it as well, which we won't talk about in this video, but we may do in a future video. So if you want, subscribe to the channel. But things like if you took the debt with malice, meaning the person or the agent that was doing your paperwork did it incorrectly or did it maliciously. There are ways to combat that scenario as well, but let's talk about that separately. But hopefully, having discussed these methods, it gives you a glimpse of what are the things you could do to reduce your debts, eliminate stress, and basically become free ASAP. Not all debt is bad debt. There are good kinds of debt, but when we're talking about these types of debts, it's things like your car payment, your credit card, debts that you have to pay out of your pocket. Those are the kinds of debts that will stop you from achieving the maximum success. And if we can eliminate that, then that's good. Oh, by the way, I forgot. We're going to show you about those extra payments, right? So here's what you do. If you're in a position where you can pay extra towards your mortgage or your debt, pay it off quicker, here's when you would use this strategy. If it's a bad type of debt, a car loan where the asset goes down in value, consumables, bags, luxury bags, whatever. On a mortgage, if it's your primary home, yes. If it's an investment property, you might not want to do this. But in any case, let's take a look into it. What you do is you Google mortgage calculator extra mortgage payment or amortization extra payment calculator, and it should come up with something like this. And what we're going to do is we just plug in the details. Let's say it's a $500,000 loan with a 20% $100,000 deposit. Your loan amount is $400,000 and at an interest rate of 5% over 25 years. And paying an extra $500, well, this is what it looks like once we calculate it. Your ordinary payments are $2,300-ish based on this calculator, right? If you add that extra $500 every month, instead of paying a total of $700,000 in interest and principal payments, you only pay $600,000, you save almost $100,000, and you wipe off a good 8 years off of your mortgage, 7 or 8 years, right? So that's pretty damn good, isn't it? And that's just by adding an extra $500, which a lot of people can afford, towards their mortgage. But in any case, that's just one method of many methods to reduce your debt. Let's get back into the main topic. If you found this helpful, or if you know somebody who needs this, share this video with them. Put a comment in the comment section if you found it useful, and we'll talk about other stuff like this in future videos if enough people really love it. Subscribe to the channel and check out some other videos on this channel as well if you want to know more about good, useful stuff. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, and here's to your success. Guys, if that video was useful to you, don't forget we've got some other useful videos right here for you to watch, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel here as well. That will help you stay updated whenever we post future content. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to put that bell notification on as well. All right, so we'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and bye for now.